Talks continue this weekend as congressional Democrats and the White House try to strike a deal to provide more money for a program meant to help small businesses shut down by the coronavirus. Earlier, I talked with the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, about that and more. Speaker Pelosi, good to talk to you again. The $350 billion fund to provide loans to small businesses has run out. President Trump says you and other Democrats are blocking a deal to provide another $250 billion. Here he is on that.
Nancy Pelosi, she's away on vacation or something, and she should come back. She should come back and get this done. I don't know why she's not coming back. The fact is, she's not doing her job.
The president says he now supports your call for more money for hospitals, but you're also calling for more money for first responders, for food assistance, for states and local governments. How long are you prepared to hold out, Speaker?
Well, I think we're on a very good path. First of all, I support the CARES Act. We were very pleased to be able to turn it from a corporate trickle-down bill to a workers' first bubble up, and support the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program in there. And so as they have committed the money that is there, we want to add more money there. It is very urgent, though, that we support our police and fire, our healthcare workers, our nurses, our teachers. And that's what the state and local government is about, is meeting the needs of the coronavirus, and everything that we're doing is about the coronavirus. Now, understand that. We're not going afield in any other thing. And also to make sure that everyone has access to the program. I'm very pleased at the progress that is being made. We've worked in a very bipartisan way all along. We continue to do so. We all pay tribute to our small businesses, which are the optimism, the entrepreneurial spirit of America, and we don't want there to be any doubt that if they are participating in the program, that they will be funded, and if they meet the standards of the program, that those loans will be forgiven.
So is there going to be a deal, and if so, how soon? You know, there are a lot of small businesses that are running out of money and are hanging on by their fingernails.
Yes, and we want all of them to get what they're entitled to under the law, and even more than some of these small businesses have other requests in terms of the additional loan program, in addition to the grant program, and that's part of our request as well. The money has not all been distributed, although it has all been committed, and that means there's no more money. They will have more money as soon as we come to agreement, which will be soon. And I think people will be very pleased, because these small businesses must thrive in a community where their, again, health is essential to them opening up, and they have to open up in order to thrive. It's one thing to save them the day. It's another thing to have customers at the end of the day.
The president announced a plan this week to reopen the country, and you immediately criticized it. I want to put up what you said. The White House's vague and inconsistent document does nothing to make up for the president's failure to listen to the scientists and produce and distribute national rapid testing. But Dr. Anthony Fauci endorsed the plan. Take a look.
If these things are done correctly, what I believe they can, we will have, and there will be, enough tests to allow us to take this country safely through phase one.
Don't you believe Dr. Fauci?
Yeah, well, he said if this were to be done properly. Well, it hasn't been done. On March 4th, we passed our first bill, bipartisan, testing, testing, testing. It's over 6 weeks since then, and it hasn't been done. So he's saying if it is done properly, we're already very late on that. But he's right. It has to be testing. It has to be tracing, contact tracing. It has to be treatment, and it has to be quarantine. It's part of something bigger as well to be done properly. But we're way late on it, and that is the failure. The president gets an F, a failure on the testing. But Dr. Fauci's right. If it is done properly, it hasn't been. And that, I think, when he puts it in the if it's done, is an admission that it hasn't been done.
You, as you are right now, have been very critical of President Trump especially for what you say is the time that he lost initially in January and February in responding to the virus. But I want to point out that on February 24th, you went on a walking tour of Chinatown to try to promote tourism there, and here's some of what you had to say.
That's what we're trying to do today, is to say everything is fine here. Come, because precautions have been taken. We think it's very safe to be in Chinatown and hope that others will come.
If the president underplayed the threat in the early days, Speaker Pelosi, didn't you as well?
No, what we're trying to do is to end the discrimination, the stigma that was going out against the Asian American community. And in fact, if you will look, the record will show that our Chinatown has been a model of containing and preventing the virus. So I have confidence in our folks there and thought it was necessary to offset some of the things that the president and others were saying about Asian Americans and making them a target of violence across the country. In fact, some hate crimes.
But forgive me, don't you think that when you're out walking without any masks, I understand this is February, not April, when this happened, and saying that there's no threat, it's perfectly safe there, weren't you also adding to this perception that there wasn't such a threat generally?
No, I was saying that you should not discriminate against Chinese Americans, as some in our administration were doing by the way they were labeling the flu and that. No, indeed. And again, I think if you check the record, and it's current, you will see that that Chinatown has been a model in all of this. And that's what we're saying. Look to them for answers. Don't look to them to place blame.
As you know, protests against the stay-at-home orders are growing across the country. People are taking to the streets, pushing back against some of the more stringent restrictions in some states. Can you understand why they're doing that?
No, not really, because what we have to do is shelter in place. That is really the answer. Testing, tracing, treatment, shelter in place. And I do think that it's unfortunate. But, you know, people will do what they do. But the fact is we're all impatient. We all want out. But what they're doing is really unfortunate, because what is great, though, is the American people. The American people know that the good health of themselves and their families and their loved ones is what is important. And that's why you have seen such a overwhelming commitment to shelter in place and distancing, people distancing, because really it is the key to how we will open up our economy. The health issue is the key to opening up the economy. Unfortunately, what you see there is, you know, again, I'm respectful of whatever people think that they should say, but the fact is this has to be science-based, evidence-based, data-based, and the evidence and the science and the data says shelter in place, testing, contact tracing, treatment, quarantine is the answer to opening up our economy sooner. And I think, by the way, if I just may add, I do think focusing on that is a major distraction from testing, testing, testing. And so does it serve as a distraction? Yes, but that's not what this is about. We're supposed to be focusing on getting over this so that we can open up our economy. The sooner, the better. And I'm proud of the American people because, by and large, they have embraced that.
A couple of questions I want to get in. Just this week, you called President Trump a weak person, a poor leader. Now, I understand that he goes after you, so this is fully a two-way street. But do you think those kinds of partisan attacks by, in this case, you, are constructive in the middle of a national crisis?
Well, I'll tell you why I came to that. I was very prayerful on Easter. It was one of the first days I didn't have to be working every minute, and I could reflect and be prayerful. And what I decided was that the president has made many mistakes. Okay, let's have an after-action review of that. But if he continued to put forth proposals that were not science-based, continuing his, what do you say, it's a hoax, it's magically going to go away. Okay, put that aside. But to proceed with policies which were not science-based, which are not evidence-based, and to blame others, name anybody, blame the governors, blame me, blame the World Health Organization, leaders take responsibility. So I said he's a weak leader. He doesn't take responsibility. He places blame on others. And that might have been okay for before, but we cannot continue down a path that is, again, I'll come back to science, evidence, data on how we could go forward.
Finally, and I've got about a minute left here, Speaker Pelosi, when this crisis started, you opposed the idea of Congress voting remotely, something it has never done before. But in the last week, you have said that you could support remote voting under certain circumstances. What would you accept in that regard, and why the change of mind?
Well, it wasn't a change of mind. It was I tasked our chairs of jurisdiction, Chairman Jim McGovern of the Rules Committee, Chairwoman Zoe Lofgren of the House Administration Committee, to say what are the options we can give members. This was weeks ago. What are the options that we can give members constitutionally, security-wise, and technologically? They came back this week with saying proxy voting is probably something that passes muster on those scores in terms of just for this purpose, not for life in general, but for this purpose. And so that is, I'm taking their recommendation. It wasn't a change. My attitude was always, if it's possible, let's see what the options are. This is what they have come back and said is possible. And we'll see. It has to be bipartisan. We'll see how our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I think there's some openness to it. You'd have to ask them, but we would want to do it in a Congress, a House-wide, not just a determination of the Democrats that that's the way we want to go forward. We want to do it in a bipartisan way, as we have done all of this. 3 bills in March, all partisan, bipartisan, not partisan at all. And as this interim package will be bipartisan, and we want to keep the faith on both sides and with the public that this is how we have to compromise. We want to make improvements, but we have to compromise to get the job done. And I might say, I've worked with the Republicans to pass the Keep Government Open in December, to pass the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. We don't get credit for where we do work together, and I want to point that out.
Speaker Pelosi,
again,
credit where credit is due, criticism where criticism is due. Thank you so much for coming and talking with us. Please stay safe, and please come back and talk with us.
Thank you, and credit to the American people for their patriotism and their concern for their families. Thank you.